Dave Bolger here, and welcome to Had I Known, an exploration of the Hamilton College experience. What a show we have this week. If you've been listening to the show, you know that this music right here, and all the music on the show, is by Doctuh Michael Woods. And this week, he's our guest. So, strap in, because we are boarding a rocket ship into another universe to drop in and pay a visit to Doc Woods. Because this man is on another planet. And I mean that in the best way possible. This conversation is fun. It is insightful. It is deep. And of course, there is music. Now, I'm going to set the stage a little bit for this conversation because there's a little bit of a theater of the mind at play. Because this really is like visiting another planet and dropping in to the den of the shaman of this foreign planet. And that's basically what we did for this conversation. So you may hear some noise in the background as Doc is talking. That's his TV. But I didn't notice it until it was far too late to say anything, and far be it for me to stop Doc as he started going. To me, it adds to the ambiance of just you're sitting in the Doc's studio having a conversation, and he's living how he's going to live. So, join me on this rocket ship to another universe to learn about life, music, people, you name it. This one is a fun one, and I'm excited to share it with you. So here is my conversation with Dr. Michael Woods. And it is Doctuh, D-O-C-T-U-H. It's on his business card. He told me it's on his checkbook. Why? Because he's his own man.
Are you there?
Hey, Doc, how are you?
I'm building in there to the hang of my destiny.
Good to see you. How you feeling?
Scale of 1 to 10, 7.5.
Oh, no.
I recently had an operation, you know.
You were saying that in your email, yeah.
Yeah, well, I've been in pain now for over a month.
Oh, my goodness.
Every day it lessens a little bit, but only a little bit, you know. But other than that, it's like I don't really care that much about my physical body anymore unless it's a horrible distraction. I'm trying to live on a mental plane.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to live on a spiritual plane and a mental plane that's above the encumbrances of getting old and thick. How about that?
All right.
But, you know, I have some medicines and stuff that I take. And like I said, each day it lessens a little bit. But fortunately, it's happening during a time during the summer and also during the pandemic where there aren't a whole lot of places to go,
right?
Things I need to do,
right.
Where physical pain would be an unnecessary distraction in my public discourse.
Yeah. Staying home with the pandemic, is that getting you to see in your studio there? And you writing more music because of it?
I'm writing music. Well, let me say it like this: I'm writing music all the time. One, because the music is good, because it's fun, because it's funky, because I'm good at it, and I love being rewarded for what I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have an X amount of ambition, and I like to do certain things. So if I do something and I find out that the public enjoys it, and I find out that I get rewarded for it, then I do more of it.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean?
Yep.
So people need to understand that. I don't know why our administrators don't seem to understand that. Find out what somebody's good at, then put a carrot in front of the rabbit, and you can keep them motivated. That don't take a rocket scientist.
You don't think enough people find out what they're good at?
Enough people don't find out, enough people don't press hard enough to find out, and enough people don't get the adequate encouragements that they need from people over them in an administrative scenario. You know, so
yeah.
like what I'm saying is, it's the job of administrators to find out all the talent that people have and find ways to use it. Let me give you another classic example. When I say athlete, the average person thinks big, strong guy, football, over 250 pounds, right? guy who can bench press 450 pounds. Or they think of a basketball player, 7 feet tall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody thinks of some little skinny kid that looks anemic. But when you come to these guys flipping around on these skateboards, them big muscle bound guys can't do that. Right? And somebody 7 feet tall gonna break his neck, because if you're that tall, you can't control your balance well enough.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bitty skinny guys look like they fell out of the back of an ambulance, flipping and twisting and turning and doing all kinds of phantasmagorical stuff that looks impossible. And didn't nobody take it seriously for a while. They were doing it for years. Now they got the special type of Olympics where those games are accepted. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So being a jazz musician and having my livelihood and my life based upon improvisation, I have a tendency to see the world from a very creative standpoint.
How did you find out you were good? When did you discover your talent?
Well, let me show you what happened. And this is the fun stuff. When I was a kid, I was about 4 years old. We had a couch that we called a Davenport. And I used to always jump all over the Davenport every time I heard music, because to me, it was like a trampoline. And I was bouncing to the beat. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I would be at home and my parents weren't watching me, they would turn on the television and they would turn to some kind of a talent show. So I saw all these talented people playing and singing, just like America's Got Talent, 60 years ago, right? And so I would see all that, and I thought all that was fun and all that was cool. It never even dawned upon me that any of it could be difficult or dangerous,
Yeah.
So for me, then it was all about music, because my mother found an old violin that belonged to one of her aunts or something. And so I started taking lessons on the violin. Here's to show you that we didn't know nothing what we was talking about. The whole time I was playing the violin, I was playing with a viola bow. But all that withstanding, I played the violin and I got to the place where I could read the notes. And, I wasn't anything to write home about, but I wasn't bad to be in the neighborhood I was in. And so, but they were always teaching me classical music. Now, here's the thing. Was it funky? Was it hip? No. But did it sound melodic? Yes. So the whole idea of early little kid learning melodies, that helped. Okay? And then my brother, when I was 11 years old, my brother came home one day and he had a guitar. And he said, Mickey, we're going to be in a talent contest. And it's just going to be a duo, you and me. I said, do I get to play the guitar? He said, no, that's for me. He said, you're going to play the bass. I said, what's a bass? He said, it's a guitar with only 4 strings on it, and they're twice as thick as a normal guitar string. He said, but then when I play this chord, you only have to play 1 note, but it's got to be the right note. He said, you think you can do that? I said, oh yeah, I can do that. So I was a paper boy, and I was saving my money from my paper route. And my dad told me, he said, whenever you get half the money, I'll give you the other half and we'll go get you a bass guitar. So my first bass guitar cost $55. And it's been a love affair with the bass ever since then. And then I'm going to show you something.
Show me.
Because I got my bass sitting right here. What happens to me when I play the instrument is that I kind of go into another realm in which I get a chance to explore creativity. Oh, the other thing that happened for me was when I was a kid, I watched cartoons. Oh, and I loved cartoons. They were so funny and they were so perfectly stoofy and goofy.
And music was a huge part of cartoons back then.
Well, yeah, but what happens is people would put excerpts from classical symphonies behind the cartoons.
Right.
Then what my mother would do is when it was time for me to go to sleep, she would play Mozart symphonies. Mozart, Haydn, Beethoven, early classical symphonies. So now, for me, I came up during a time where R&B was exploding. So watch. Skang, go down, go down, go dum, stum, bum, dum, 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 right? Okay, take that and go stoodle day, boo day, spoodle boo bop day, boba doo day, boodle doo bat, skate boo right? And take that and put Ray Charles on and say, see the girl with the diamond ring, she'll know how to shake that thing, right? And of course, he played it off. All the church pastors said, "Ooh, that's suggestive." He said, "I'm talking about the ring." And then put cartoons on top of that.
Yeah.
Hey, Scoob, let's get out of here. Right?
Yeah.
So all that turned into this. Shobadoo cat okay. Right?
If anyone ever wanted to know why I wanted all your music on this show, this is a perfect example of why. And
Yeah,
it's interesting when you talk about cartoons as a musical influence. One of the things that always struck me in seeing you play and watching you play right now is there's always an element of fun, no matter what it is. You can see that you are loving life and having the time of your life when you're playing. Talk about the fun element to all this and why it's fun for you.
Well, here's the point. One, it's got to be fun. In order for it to have its vivacious nature, it's got to be fun. And here's the point. People got to understand this. Even if I'm playing a slow song, even if I'm playing an angry song, even if I'm playing a protest song, I'm still delighted that I have a skill set that allows me to do something that's demonstrative and especially something that pierces into an unseen realm. Because when I'm playing, you can hear the notes, but you physically can't see them.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean?
Yep.
So therefore, it's a combination of objective skills to try to get a subjective result. And the cool thing that I like as a black man is this. What jazz does, because of the improvisation, it exalts the subjective over the object. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about how it makes you feel. And then as you twist the lines one way and another, it's about how clever can you play something that people think they already know. And then halfway through, they realize, I didn't know he was going to play that note. Or he's playing too many notes, or the beat's getting lost. I said, stay home, I'll be back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let me show you one last thing. I think you'll understand what I'm saying. Let me see if my brain works. Okay, so now I'm going to play a little selection for you, which I think you might appreciate. Okay. How about a little of my favorite things?
Okay.
So I'm going to go, the rain drops on roses, whiskers on their mittens, and right back from the ghettos, and our own mittens, wild geese that fly away, on their wings. These are of you above my face. Right?
One of the things I've always loved about jazz, thanks to you, by the way, taking that history of jazz class, really opened my mind to exactly what you just showed, is have a musician take something recognizable and then take it off to a whole other plane, and then to be able to bring it back and make it recognizable again. Is that journey that you can go on through a jazz composition is just it really changes your mind and can be very fun oftentimes.
Yes, here's the thing that makes it fun. And you got to put together the musical factor with the social factors. And if you get all that lined up right, you get something wonderful. Okay, so here's what happens with the musical factors. Start with something that's recognizable, that people already think they know. And then you start probing to find out what is the earliest realm, the earliest portion at which you can alter even one governing principle and then make it become creative rather than mere rote enunciation. So if I were to do My Country 'Tis of Thee, okay, let's say I'm Wynton Marsalis. So I go, Skade and boo and big and bob and blue and dee, splag and bop, ski ball bladder, right? Now what happens is I got creative with the colors. I threw a growl in there, threw several pitch bends in there, and there's syncopation everywhere. But you can still tell that's My Country 'Tis of Thee. Now let's go to the social level. What is that? What makes that so cool about that? Here's a black man playing his natural backside. I'll say, it's my country too. I was born here. Hey, I'm not going to go jogging in Georgia, but I was born here. Start the doing a long bandori, scope for what in right?
It's like
and
I'm
then
back.
You get stupid.
Yeah, it's great. I feel like I'm back in class. This is why I loved taking this class with you back then. And I'm sorry I waited 20 years to have this conversation again.
You know.
So go ahead. No, I was going to say this. The conversations I've been having with folks are about the Hamilton experience, and I'm curious, how did you end up at Hamilton? So you went from you're playing in a talent show with your brother and discovering a love of music. How does that evolve into you becoming a professor at Hamilton?
Take talent shows and multiply them by about 40. Talent show after talent show every year from the age of 11 until about 18. Then when I turned 18, my brother said, hey, Mickey, did you know you can go to college and get a degree in music? I said, I can. I said, so I went to the local university where I was from, which was Akron University, Akron, Ohio. But they didn't have a full-fledged jazz program. And they didn't have anybody there who had the slightest clue of what I was talking about, what I needed or what I wanted. I wish I could have gone to the Berklee School in Boston. But that didn't happen. So basically they took classical music and they shoved it down my throat. But the cool thing is I played in a jazz band after classes. After classes was over and we go to the evening, we had a little 6-piece funk band. Oh, you would love this. That nasty stuff that connects in your feet. The name of our band was called Toe Jam. So that was a lot of fun, and that was my outlet. But there was no one helping me blend the two things intelligently. You know what I mean? I had to do the blending myself, which is cool in this way because that back then, actually it was happening when I was 4 or 5 years old, I realized I was a savant. And so the thing is, and that is because I do things that are unorthodox, and I do things and I don't ask for permission.
Mm-hmm.
I just hear something in my head and I think it's cool and I go chasing after it. And I chase after it until I get it in the proportions I want it. And then I serve it up to people and said, do you like it or you don't like it? I said, but I ain't going to explain it and I ain't going to defend it. Here it is. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I was doing. And then I got into all kind of arguments with my teachers because they told me, well, you're not doing it according to this aspect of music theory or that aspect. I said, I don't care nothing about no music. What the heck is music theory? I said, what are you talking about? I said, theory is any rhyme or reason or governing principle by which music is created. It isn't just the stuff that J.S. Bach did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was anything that any musician does to put together his piece of music so that he can actually pull it off. And it doesn't have to be written down, and the better portion of it is not written down. And it doesn't have to line up with what some principles are so it sounds easily analyzable, you know? And then from there, because I saw how badly Black people were treated, and my parents preached to me up one side, down the other, that education was the best chance for a level playing field. From that point on, I just took class after class after class after class until it became pathological. Because I made up my mind I was going to get so many degrees and take so many classes and read so many books and study so much until the place where anybody that came at me with a mean-spirited, accusing kind of attitude, I would be able to answer them completely and totally. I said, you want to talk on an analytical level? I can do that. You want to get down and talk on a funk level and just have some fun? We can do that. Want to talk on a spiritual level? We can do that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it seems like there's something very jazz about your entire approach, right? If you're questioning early on music theory and saying, I'm not going to follow that, I'm going to go do my own thing, right? Back to the point earlier about the jazz composition is take something recognizable, make it your own.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you were doing with your education as well. Learn everything you needed to do to get the foundation, but then I'm going to make it, give it the Michael Woods flavor.
Yeah, but I had no choice. I had to. Because I could not allow, I was taught, I was never going to allow protocol to obliterate my personality.
Mm-hmm.
Protocol is there to enhance my personality. It's there to have a sidewalk for me to walk on. It's not there to turn me into some obedient robot. You know what I'm saying? And then something happened to me when I was 12 years old. And that was, I turned on the television one day and there was this African-American athlete. And he was clever and he was thoughtful and he was humorous and he could rhyme and he also had incredible skills and he would not allow white announcers to put words in his mouth. It was Muhammad Ali.
Yep.
And I saw that and I said, well, that's a real Black man. Because in the boxing field, what happened would be all the Black guys were the best fighters, but nobody would ever interview or talk to them like they actually had anything to say beyond, oh, I got big fist,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Ali would say, no. He said, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm good at what I do. And then I saw the charitable work that he did. And I was totally taken with that. So when he fought Sonny Liston in Lewiston, Maine, I think it was 1964, and I was 12 years old. I made up a little poem about him and I came to school and I read it in class. Then I became the villain because I took sides with Ali.
Huh.
But I told people right then and said, Ali is going to beat Sonny Liston. And people looked at me like, no, Liston says he's going to knock him out in 2 rounds. I said, no, he ain't. Now, I got a chance to spend an entire day with Muhammad Ali in 1976.
Wow.
And so I asked him a lot of things which he told me personally. He said this, Sonny Liston was listed as being 34 years old. Sonny Liston was 39 years old because he had spent 5 years in federal prison, which he had his manager expunged from his record.
Huh.
So here's a man 39 trying to fight a man 22. And so what happened is Ali said, I'm going to be too fast. he's not going to be able to catch me. And he said, and if I don't hit him hard enough to knock him out, he said, that was back when they had 15-round fights. He said, somewhere between 13 and 15, I'll be beating him so bad the referee will stop it. And had the fight gone that long, that's exactly what would have happened. So I was proud of him because he took charge of something and he believed in his own creativity, even though he knew he would be accused of being egotistical.
Mm-hmm.
He said, there's no way I can come up with something new, different, higher, better, hipper, more informed, and then turn around and apologize for it and be this humble little worm that people want. He said, nah, that's not going to work.
Right.
I can't do it. It can't go like that.
Right. Well, it was a way to stand up and be the leader and the inspiration that he wanted to be, right? So you made the point, fighters before him, Joe Louis, classic example, right? A beloved champion. There was a long list of rules he had to follow when he was out in public. Can't be seen with a white woman, be subservient. The long list he had to follow. Jackie Robinson, same thing. Jackie Robinson, is heralded as he should be, but he too had to follow a long list of rules to join Major League Baseball. Ali was a whole different category of icon and inspiration.
He said, and I ain't asking for permission, just put the gloves on and let's see what happens.
Right.
11 times in a row, he named the round he was going to knock his opponent out in and did it.
Incredible.
So what I wanted to do as a bass player and as a composer, I wanted to write charts that were so clever and so funky and so hip that musicians everywhere of any nationality would just dig it. It's just a funky, good little piece of music. And then as a bass player, I wanted my fingers flying across the instrument, doing things that perhaps had never been codified on the bass. And of course, my hero was Jaco Pastorius.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Now, I made no attempt to try to be Jaco because I realized early on, I couldn't articulate this, but I realized early on that Jaco was a one-off. He had a set of skills that he had developed, and it wasn't like anything any bass player before him had ever done. And the cool thing that made him quite the original, which no one talks about, is his phrasing is so obscure. Many times when he starts soloing, you have no idea where pitch one is or where beat one is. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then when he finishes the solo, it sounds like the whole time like he knew what he was doing. And I admired that.
Yeah.
I said, but I got to come up with my own version of that.
Uh-huh.
So let me tell you this real quick. Here's what I did: is I had to devise a means that would allow me to improvise over older music, modern music, or crazy music that barely exists yet. And it's called micromanagement at the motivic level. So if I would come up with all these little motives, watch, I'll give you an example. Let's take a major scale. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay. Or I could go okay. Those are little patterns. So the thing is, as long as I could motives, you might say, as long as I can improvise and I can think of the next motive before I run out of creative impulse, I can have vocabulary that goes on endlessly. And so I had never heard that done on the bass. So I said, I'm going to do something and I'm not going to ask for permission. I'd heard sax players do it.
Mm.
I said, but I'm just going to take this and put it down an octave. I'll show you something. I think you'll appreciate this. One day I was playing the bass and I was sitting there and I was beat-braining my bops out, right? And I was going along and I thought I was playing particularly good that day. So the words came to me, I'm playing the bass. And I'm saying, are you? I said, I'm playing the music. I said, are you? And I realized I'd hit a stream of consciousness and the bass was playing me and the music was playing me because I had completely given myself to it with no encumbrances. You see what I mean?
Hmm.
So the concept of information being AC/DC going both ways, saying, wait a minute, I've played long enough until I've created enough sound till the sound itself has become an entity. which can then speak to the encumbrances of strings and frets. And it can speak to the creative impulse of what I want to hear come out of the instrument and what I want to hear come next. So I said, oh, so there's this, the Bifrost. I'm Thor standing on the Bifrost. You dig what I'm saying? and I'm trying to kick me a little Asgard up in here. Right?
So someone who clearly takes things to another level, you talk about having this stream of consciousness, the music's playing you. How do you teach that? How do you have a student walk in and say, here's how to do it when clearly some of it is coming from deep inside you that I can't imagine that's easy to teach?
You know, the first thing I do when I talk to white kids is I tell them, don't be afraid. When I talk to black kids, I don't have to do that. When I talk to black kids, I have to scold them and get after them to get some type of really serious work ethic. I don't have to do that with white kids because the white kids are willing to work. But the problem is sometimes they're willing to work, but they're willing to also be a robot. And I said, no, don't be a robot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Dr. Woods. Am I doing it correctly? I said, wait a minute. It's about more than correction. It's about being correct. Are you expressing yourself in a way that you're satisfied with your expressions? Did you manage to say what you wanted to say, the way you wanted to say it? And then what I tell the black kids is this. I said, now get creative. I said, I want you to create something. What would you do if you could transverse realm? Okay, what would you do if you could move back and forth between past, present, and future? What would you do if you could move back and forth and you could use the vibrations of sound coming from your instrument and or your voice, and that could pierce into another realm, move backward and forward in time, and stop evil from happening? I said, what would you do if you could play into existence what your fondest desire is? That's why I played my favorite things. Let me give you an example. My son is doing 5 in federal. If I could play his freedom into existence, I would. So I asked myself, what would that sound like? And then I go after this thing that cannot be perfectly codified. I go after a commensurate sound because I have this whole think tank engine up here working called What If. Mm-hmm. I go into what if mode. Let me give you an example. A cop sees a large black man, okay? He says, I shot him because I feared for my life, because he went into fear mode. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he has a revolver on his hip. When I look at history, I look at what's there and I look at what could be there. And I go into what if mode. Mm-hmm. So and I elide every chance I get. I elide. I make one phrase fall over top of the next one to the place where you can't hardly find the seams. Don't nobody know where the seams are but me. What it is this: I'm Joe Average until I pick up my instrument and start playing. Then that red ass on my chest starts glowing. And then I want to take it to some level where I'm doing some crazy stuff that can't nobody do but me. And other people look at me and say, okay, we got 1 or 2 choices. He's either out of his friggin' mind, is either his elevator don't go to the top, or it goes out of the building. So do you think I'm just being stoofy and goopy? You think I'm missing some sane brows? Or do you think I'm kicking butt up in here? You know what I'm saying? I love this. See, that's what I got from the cartoons.
Yeah.
Because something goofy would always be happening. So I've always thought that all the parameters at which the average person stops their conscious awareness were never meant to be governing parameters, so much so as to prevent creative human thought.
So by that notion, do you subscribe to the thought that anyone can play music, certainly some better than others, but there are people like me who have tried time and time again and always seem to fail? Is that just not trying hard enough or not opening yourself up? Like, what's your thought on the general ability to play music.
You have to have parameters inside of you that are activated along the lines of your social activity and your creative palette that lend themselves to mega stimulation. So now what I'm saying is anybody can reach some beginning levels of proficiency. Doesn't mean that you're going to be a great improviser.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that you're going to be a star or you're going to be a person whose expressive palette is so awesome as to be dubbed virtuosic. But anybody can learn a major scale. You know what I'm saying? And here's the cool thing. You see, if I can get people to be playful while they're learning it, rather than be intimidated by the difficulty of it, they will do it before they have any clue how much is involved or how difficult it could be. That's the great thing about teaching a kid.
Back to the fun, right? It's
back to the fun. See, because what happened with me is I was able to get stupid early. And I made this discovery, and it really helps me. And that is this, is every human being has a mind, and then they have a spirit. Now, with your mind, you generally solve problems, and you understand specific facts that have been codified in a scientific fashion. But with your spirit, you experience things, joy, peace, wisdom, love. Those things can't be codified in terms of numbers or digital data. So what happens is this, when you are trying to learn music, and particularly jazz, you learn all the structural elements. You learn the chords and the scales and the arpeggios and all the rest of that stuff. And you memorize all that. And you have that in a data bank in your head. Okay? And so that's what you do in the practice room. Now, when it comes time to perform, especially to improvise, you ask the creative side of your brain, i.e. your spirit, to dig into your data bank and go raid the data bank without asking for permission, and go get a creative impulse and shoot it through that data bank. And what will happen is you'll find out that you'll go get it, and it won't be in the same order that you placed it, but it'll be close enough that it's recognizable as your voice. To me, that is such a groove. That is such a high. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What's your thoughts or your opinion on the general state of music on the campus? As someone like you, are you able to stay stimulated by the acts that come through, by just the general state of what music is like at Hamilton?
Well, let me say it like this. In a good year, Hamilton brings through all kinds. Hamilton is a very small private college, located on a little bitty hill stuck in the middle of upstate New York. Okay, so now they already know that. The people that run the college, they already know that. It's located in the middle of nowhere. So therefore, they have to go out of their way to get highly stimulating, big-time, meaningful artists to stop past this little college and hold court and show what they can do. And Hamilton does that, and they do it very, very well. And so, yes, but it does take those stars to keep me motivated. You know what I'm saying? So over a period of the 27 years that I've been there, I've gotten a chance to see Dave Brubeck and Keita Betts and Bobby Watson and Christian Sands. They recently had Christian Sands, and he was from another planet, just unbelievable. And I got a chance to have a jam session with Bill Watrous, the great trombone player. And so all of those things, they keep me motivated because I like being in the presence of these super creative people. See, what it does is when I'm in the presence of these people, and I got this from them, an artist does not defend. If Vincent van Gogh just put some paint on a canvas and just swirl it around like this and call it Starry Night, you know what I'm saying? He said, I am not going to defend. And the cool thing I liked about being an artist, it allowed me to escape from protocols that limit Black people. And I found out, I said, we live in a society where as a black man, it's not only okay, but it's almost expected that you could be good at jazz.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, so I said sports and entertainment, right?
Yep.
The cool thing I like about LeBron is he don't explain. That's the one thing I loved about Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson is supposed to be 6'1". He's 5'11" at best. And he would take it in the paint against these monsters and score. He would come away off of a game and have scored 35 to 40 points. And people say, how does this little bitty guy do it? I said, because he said, I'm not doing it with height. I'm doing it with speed.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, he said, and I'm not going to explain it. Because the only rule says, if I put this orange ball in that hole, then it's either worth 2 points or 3 points. That's it.
Yeah.
So if I pick up this thing and I put my fingers in crazy places where they don't look like they've never been before, or don't look like I'm capable of doing it, or it sounds temporarily for a small amount of time like he might be making a mistake until I make a save. Right? I said, I ain't explaining nothing to nobody.
Can I tell you two moments that stick out for me from when I was on campus, back to this idea of musicians on campus? Two moments with you that have always stood out with me and that served in the moment as validation for things that I was experiencing because I saw you enjoying them. One was Bela Fleck and the Flecktones were playing, and I had never seen them before, and Victor Wooten was going off in some sort of solo. And I said, my God, this is amazing. And I'm thinking, this is amazing, right? And I look to my left, and there's Doc Woods sitting about 4 seats away from me, just loving life, just head back, smiling, jamming out. And I said, well, if Doc's enjoying this, then I know it's good.
Yeah,
and I remember you looked over at me and you said, this cat's from another planet.
Yes, exactly. You took the words out of my mouth, because here's the thing that Victor had done for me in that moment. And he does it every doggone time. He's so good until what he does defies codification.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I said it's from some other planet is because it is so awesome. There is no known criterion by which it can be reined in. He can't even be compared to anybody else.
Right.
Right. You know
You
what I'm saying? Because at that particular time, I think on that particular show, he was playing, he took his solo and he played Overjoyed by Stevie Wonder, and he played Night in Tunisia, and he went into Flight of the Bumblebee.
Mm-hmm.
All on the bass with no accompaniment.
No accompaniment.
Oh, and one time, he'd been at Hamilton a couple of times. One time I saw him walk out on stage. He had a 5-string bass, and the bass was in his hands. It was pointing this way. And while he was doing his thing, a roadie came out with another bass and laid it on a stool, and the neck was pointing that way. And he took his thumb like this and hammered on a bass note like this, and then a 4-part chord like this with the other fingers, right? And then he did this. He put his thumb on this one and hammered on 4-note chords on the one going there. He was playing 8, 9, 10 notes at a time on basses with the necks going opposite directions. I thought I would holler. I said to myself, where is Spielberg when you need him? Somebody need to be filming the bar scene in Star Wars. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I said, because this dude is a Klingon. You know what I'm saying?
Incredible. And then he'll throw in a flip just to showmanship, you know?
What do poor college students eat on other planets?
What's that?
Romulan noodles.
Oh, I love it.
That's where I get my sense of humor from, because some of these people are so outstanding until it's cartoonish.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a cheap way, but in an utterly and completely profound way. That's the thing that I dig so much, because you see, if the average person with all of their problems and all of everything that they're uptight about, or everything that they've allowed themselves to become problematic with, if they would go to a concert for an hour and a half, hour, 50 minutes, and let some of these virtuosos go into the stream of consciousness and watch what these people do and realize how utterly awesome it is. And it's profound. At the same time, it's funny.
So my other favorite moment with you was you brought Clark Terry in to speak at our history of jazz class.
Yeah.
And he just sat down and pulled out his trumpet, and his opening line was big, shiny blue trumpet. And his opening line was, "You got to have a blue trumpet to play the blues." And, and then he just went off and played and told stories. And I mean, it was incredible to me. And then I look over at you, and you were just in your glory, loving this. And I said, well, again, if Doc's loving it, then I know this is something special. And it was moments like that made you realize, wow, for a small school, to your point before, to be able to get a legend like Clark Terry in to tell these stories to this tiny little class, it's something special.
Yes, but here's the point, though. Here's the point. Just the fact that he was being playful. So you got to have a trumpet to play the blues. No, you don't. But the matter is this. But he was having fun.
Yeah.
And what he was trying to say in so many words is you got to be willing to get a little bit goofy. You got to be willing to think outside the box. And then I thought to myself, soon as I got outside the box and something worked, I said, uh-oh, I'm building me a little condo outside the box. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I got one for you. Promise not to scream.
All right.
Where do cattle stay when they're on vacation?
Where?
In a cow bungalow. Why do you think jazz musicians tell stupid jokes? To get your creativity going in some realm where you use some type of little metaphor that's out the box.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the point. That's the reason why I got a doctorate degree. So I figured, okay, if I'm going to get a terminal degree, I'm going to study everything anybody ever tells me to do. I'm going to read more books than I need to and turn in term papers until I turn purple, so that when I get the degree, after I get the degree, I can rescue the goofy stuff and come straight up into class and use it. I said, that's okay because I've got a terminal degree and you can't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Got enough letters in front of my name for an alphabet, got more degrees than a thermometer. Yeah, so what I'm saying is, in so many words, is you got to find ways to keep growing the uniqueness of your own persona, because nobody can grow that for you. You got to do that yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime I'm sitting down at breakfast or supper, I have a pen or a pencil with me and a score pad. Uh-oh, I feel a new chart coming on. All right? Alrighty. This one I wrote for my son because he has less than a year to go. It's called He Is Free Now. Based on the same changes as My Favorite Things. Trying to play or write his freedom into existence.
That's a thick packet. That's a thick envelope you got there, Doc. That's a lot of songs.
There's at least 2 albums worth of information, 2 albums worth of charts in here.
Are you going to record them?
To the bill of my destiny. As soon as they get done with this virus thing, I'm gonna give a live concert and then have them mix down the live tape.
Oh, nice. Where are you gonna do that?
Right on stage, Hamilton College.
All right. One last question I ask everybody on this, and I'm really curious to get yours. You said 27 years at Hamilton?
Yep.
You go back to when you started, or in your early days at Hamilton. Had you known then what you know now, would you have given yourself any words of wisdom?
Yeah. I would say, this is me now talking to me then.
Yep.
Do what you do and even crank up the intensity even higher. Do it until it's stupid. Do it until it's so catalytic. Put fear in people. Make people have to wake up and say, this dude is crazy. He's out of his freaking mind. Nobody does the stuff that he does, or they don't do it as much of it as he does. Or if he's doing that now and he's doing it in some little itty bitty town and he ain't making no money, what would happen if he was doing it in New York City and had contracts flowing back and forth? would scare the stink out of people. That's what I would do. And that's why I admired Muhammad Ali. He said, I ain't gonna do it your way. But when I get done doing it my way, if you know anything about the field that you say you're serving, you're gonna dig it. It isn't until something goes past the parameters of comfort that it becomes volatile enough to be catalytic to change or improve our society.
Well, look, that's why when I set out to make this show about Hamilton College, I wanted it to be about the experience. And a big part of that experience for me, and for I know a lot of people, was your music. And that's why, whether you like it or not, are the musical director of this show, and why all the music played on this is your music, because to me, it captures the Hamilton experience better than anything else.
You know, there's one other thing that I want to say about that, and that is this. I looked at the world that I was living in, and my disappointment at the way that people of color were and are treated became so huge and so unmanageable. I said, I can barely live like this, because I'm a person that lives almost entirely by ambition and motivation. And so therefore, I said, you can't not make me look at a world where a man can be killed just because he went out and he was jogging.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or you put your foot on a man's neck for 8.5 minutes until he can't breathe. I said, no, I can't live in that world. That's not good enough for me. So people asked me, said, why do you stay at a school as small as Hamilton College? I said, because Hamilton is a very small but meaningful little environment. It's only 2,000 students up here, maybe 300 faculty and 150 staff or whatever. It's small enough, and it's a small enough ecosystem that if people ever put their mind to it, at least in this realm, in this fiefdom, racism could be destroyed.
Do you see that happening at Hamilton?
Hamilton's got a long ways to go.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because they don't see it yet. That's my job, to make them see it. But then it becomes doable. Now, what Hamilton does see is this. Hamilton is a flat out champion when it comes to supporting the research of their faculty. And that's one way of seeing it. Because if somebody wakes up one day and they get inside the crazy music that I write, and you see how funky and how fun it is, they will realize that funk and fun are objective parameters to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Once they begin to discover those are realms that they can pierce into, then they'll find answers in those realms that don't exist in this social scenario. That's my job. My job is not just to write songs and grade papers. It's to open another realm and get people who right now are stumped because they're at the end of their resources, and they're at the end of their resources because they don't see other realms that they could move into, because they think that's all weird and spooky. And yeah, it's weird and spooky. It can't be no more spooky than racism. Duh. I know I look like a Muppet, but duh. You know? So what I'm trying to get people to say is this: every time they tell me that something I'm saying or doing is crazy or goofy, I'm saying, you mean killing somebody because he went jogging? That ain't crazy. Suffocating somebody to death? That ain't crazy. Breaking into a woman's house and shooting her 8 times with no warrant? That ain't crazy. I said, come on now. See, because people, when they go to judge me, they want to take the criterion of what they call crazy, and they want to truncate it and make it in these narrow parameters so they can call me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wait a minute, the stuff you do, murdering innocent people on the street like dogs? I said, that ain't crazy? Or I'd say this, okay, I tell you what, have you seen The Matrix?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I said, oh, let me tell you what then, let's do this. I'm going to give you a pill, the blue pill or the red pill. If you take the red pill, nothing will change. It's just a placebo. But here, if you take this blue pill, you will turn into an African American. And the results are irreversible. If you even hesitate,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want equality. If you even hesitate for 15 seconds, you can't talk to me no more. You don't believe in equality. And that means you never heard a note of my music. You heard sound, but you didn't hear the music. How can you not laugh? Come on.
I mean, is that man incredible or what? If anyone from the administration is listening, if there's a lifetime professorship, emeritus status, an endowment, whatever it may be, please, whatever power I have as an alum, which is very little, I know, but whatever power I have as an alum, listen to me and say, on behalf of anyone whose lives have been touched by Doc Woods, give the man every single piece of credit he deserves. Put a statue of him with his bass standing next to Alexander Hamilton outside the chapel. That's the status that he holds in my mind. What a conversation. I mean, to have the opportunity to sit on Zoom like I did and watch him just sit there play the bass. I could have done a 4-hour episode of this and it still wouldn't have been enough. It was a blast. I mean, what lessons learned? I mean, he's taking me to school in that conversation. The importance of fun. Everything's got to be fun. Even if it's serious, have fun, because what better way to connect with people? The importance of individuality. Don't apologize for who you are. Be who you are. That comes through loud and clear. I mean, he's teaching life lessons. It's just, it was great. I hope you enjoyed it. I absolutely did. I hope you did too. If you want to hear more of Doc's music, check him out on SoundCloud. Search Doctuh Mike Woods, D-O-C-T-U-H, Mike Woods, on SoundCloud. There is a wealth of Doc's music there that you can check out and enjoy. And you know what? While we're at it, let's make the man some money. Go to Amazon and search for Michael Woods, Udda Planets, UHTHUH Planets. That's where he's from. He's from another planet. It's a jazz suite. It's a fantastic album. You can purchase that on Amazon. I highly recommend you do that. So check out his music, SoundCloud or Amazon. Check us out on Twitter at Had I Known Show, and we'll post links to Doc's music there as well. And of course, as always, we'll have Doc play us out. You've been listening to Had I Known on WHCL FM, Had I Known Show on Twitter and Instagram, hadiknown.buzzsprout.com, or anywhere you get your podcasts. I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll talk to you next week.